What's up, all my Ewoks? It's Anna, also known as that Star Wars girl, and today I am finally back with another drawing video. I know you guys really like them. The only problem is that YouTube absolutely hates it when I put out anything creative, and they just prefer to promote videos when I'm just sitting here screaming at a camera and, you know, not actually putting time and energy and effort into something, which, you know what, screaming at a camera does take a lot of time and energy and effort, but I'm not one of those people that really edits videos too much, so I just kind of sit here and I talk for 10 minutes when I usually do my rant videos, and what you see is what you get. Whereas with this, it takes a lot of time because not only do I have to draw the video, but then I have to edit it, and then I have to do a voiceover over it. So it takes a lot of work to make these, so it would really help me out in the algorithm if you would like this video and share it, and, you know, leave a comment. I usually don't like to ask that before a video starts, before I get into it, but YouTube just hates these videos and it kills the algorithm and it kills my channel. So if you like these and you would like to see more videos, not just on the weekends, please be sure to at least give it a thumbs up, or to share it, or to leave a comment. Any of those three will suffice. So thank you so much, and without further ado, let's get into me drawing orcs. So as you can see, I just have my sketch pad out on a table. Now, it's not a fancy, you know, art desk or anything. It's just one of those cheap picnic table, like fold out tables, because if you're going to do art projects on it, it's going to get dirty. You're going to spill paint on it. You're going to wreck it in some way, shape, or form. So never ever waste money on a fancy art table, because you're just going to wreck it. Now, as you can see, I've already starting to block out the shapes in the face. And one of the things I love to do when I'm drawing out orcs is you just find a picture on Pinterest of someone looking cool. Now, this is a Femorc, so, you know, that means female orc. So I just try to take bits and pieces from different costumes and stuff and try to make it look like it would fit the time. This is an orc princess, so she's going to be kind of more regal than the orcs I usually draw. I usually like to do like warrior type of orcs, because, you know, that's one thing that orcs are famous for in World of Warcraft, is that they go into battle. So after I block out the sketch, I go in and start inking it. Now, this is just a it's a $1.50 pen that I got from Daiso, which is a Japanese $1.50 store, and I love it. They come in different sizes as far as the tips. This is the smallest one that comes out, and I love to use it for details on the face. I sometimes used to use oh gosh, what are they called? High-tech C pins, because the tips won't bend if you put too much pressure on them. But after a while, I felt like I'm very heavy-handed when I draw, so because the pin was so fine tipped, it would leave indents in the paper, and I didn't like that. Now, this paper I've never used before. This is 100% cotton paper that's acid free. I saw someone talking about it on Twitter, and I got it for Christmas, so that it was kind of surprising that I had seen it on Twitter, and then, you know, the next day I had an Amazon Christmas present show up at my door, and it just happened to be that that type of paper. So I'm like, oh, you know, sometimes some members of my family actually listen to me when I tell them the artist that I like, because they had seen the artist that I like post it, and I was like, oh, that's cool. That was nice. So thank you to my family member that sent me this. I appreciate it. And so, like I said, this is my first time ever using this type of paper, so I just wanted to do a sketch. So this isn't going to be a finished illustration. As you can see, I'm not using reference really. I kind of had an image of a woman. It was one of the characters from Vikings, but I changed the costume up a bit, and I changed the pose. I just wanted to see it just to you know, just kind of have something there, but I'm not going detail for detail off that image. So one of my favorite things to draw is hands, and I'm not looking at hands for this, so that's why you see everything is kind of just coming out of my imagination. I'm not doing too much detail, or else you would see me taking a lot more time on the sketch part as compared to just going into the inking really fast. And I'm not looking at hair for reference. I just knew I wanted her to have long, flowy hair. And so now that I'm done with the ink, I'm going in with the Copics. Now, like I said, this is my first time ever using this paper, so I was not expecting it to bleed like that. As you can see on her chest, when I put the Copic ink down, it got kind of blended in a very bad way with the ink from my pen. When I laid down the ink, so you can see it came out a little bit on her eye. So This was just my way of testing to see how the paper would react to the inks as well as the marker. Obviously, it's not that good. I would need to wait maybe an hour or so for it to dry before adding in the values. So that's what I'm doing right now. For those of you, if this is your first art video that you're seeing on my channel, this is very important when you're doing, you know, art with markers, or actually with anything. And this is a very important lesson to learn. Value does all the work, but color gets all the credit. So as you can see, whenever I do one of these videos where I'm drawing or, you know, rendering with markers, I put down the values first and then I go over it with color, and you'll see what I mean. Whereas far as, you know, the value does all the work, but color gets all the credit. And so I'm just going in with cool grays right now, because in Copic markers there are 4 different types of grays. There is neutral gray, warm gray, cool gray, and then what is the other one? I think it's toned gray is the last one. It's the newest one, so I haven't really used toned gray very much, but I always use cool gray and warm grays when I'm rendering a human or a humanoid type person. And I'll always go in with warm grays in the skin, unless they're a certain type of alien which would require cool grays. But usually people have warmer tones in the skin, and especially when I'm doing orcs, they look really, really good with warm gray undertones. And so as you can see, I'm adding in the color now, and you can see just the difference. I'm using very light toned greens, and it's more of a yellow green, and then I'm going in with pure yellow 000. And if you want to look up Copic markers, there's color charts online so you can see exactly what colors I'm using when I reference the numbers. So Copic has this really great number system that coincides with their colors. So I put a lot of layers down on the skin of her, so that way it'll blend nicely, because that's one of the best things that I love about Copic markers is you can get that nice transition in colors that make it look flawless. And that's one of the things that you want when you're drawing a regal princess type character, is you always want her to look flawless and, you know, romanticized. So that's why I'm giving her the pretty touch, I would say, and trying to make her look as elegant and lovely as possible. And that's usually not something that you associate with orcs, but that's something that I wanted to try. And again, guys, this isn't a full out illustration. This is just one of my rough sketches. So I think I spent maybe an hour tops on this sketch, which usually when I do my full on orc illustrations, it takes me a minimum of 3 hours, because I do the research on finding all the reference images, you know, not just like a pose, but jewelry, certain facial features, like as far as, you know, eye shapes, face shapes, certain chins. Then I go and I rigorously look for certain costume elements that'll make it all cohesive and cool, because that's another thing. It's like you don't want to spend all this time and draw something boring. You want to draw something awesome. So that's one of the things I try to achieve when I'm rendering and, you know, sketching out orcs. So I was debating on what colors to use, and I realized I never use these shades of blue, so I was like, I'll try some blue. One of the things that usually works really good when you're drawing orcs is red, so I'm always like leaning towards drawing reds, because it'll make it pop so much more, since red and green are complementary colors, and when you're using complementary colors, it draws the eyes, because they are at the opposite ends of the spectrum. So when you see complementary colors, your eyes are immediately drawn to them. So as compared to, you know, green and blue, those ones are on basically the same side of the color wheel. And that's a little color theory for you. And so now I'm just going in and adding some details. I didn't really add grays in the little pear tie in her hair, so I had to go in a couple times with a bunch of different shades of browns. This one I kind of messed up on her cuffs, because usually you would think when you're making them gold to go in and use yellow, but no, you have to use like warm skin tones and like really, really dark browns to make that happen. But like I said, this was a sketch and I was just experimenting, and I'm one of those people that I have to look at reference for metal. And so now I'm going in with just a gel pen that's metallic, and that's usually how I go in and add the details. And like I said, I wasn't using reference, so I just kind of made it look like she's holding some kind of chain. And then this is something that I do in all of my sketches, is I add this black circle. I used to add gold, but I always have black pens on hand, and, you know, I always run out of the ink in the gold one, so black was just easier. And this is what you do if you want to make it look like more of a finished or refined sketch in your sketchbook, and it'll make people stop because the black circle behind it makes it stand out. And the reason why you do circles instead of squares is because circles are easy when you're scanning it over into Photoshop or into online. So that way a circle, it's easier to adjust it, so that way it doesn't look how would you say it, like out of perspective, since this is a traditional drawing and not a digital one. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed watching me draw. So this is actually the sketchbook I was using in this video. I'd never used it before. I'd never even seen this brand before. I don't think it's something that's sold in at least the art stores that I usually shop at. I prefer, you know, art stores like Blick. Michael's not so much for sketchbook. I rarely ever buy sketchbooks from Michael's. If anything, I would buy them on Amazon or at Blick, or down here where I live there's a great art store called Art Supply Warehouse, and they have really good art supply products. But honestly, the sketchbooks that I like, that I draw in with Copics, they're by the brand Crescent, and they are called Render. The only thing about those sketchbooks, and I'll have in the links of this video, is if you go watch my Darth Revan sketch video, that one, the whole intro is just me talking about the type of pencil I use, the type of markers, and then the type of paper. So this one is 100% cotton. It doesn't have any acid in it, which I wish I would have said this while I was drawing, but I'm saying it now. One of the things I really liked about it was that it doesn't have any blotchiness. So you'll see that a lot. That's why I use Copic markers. Do never, ever, ever, if your life depends on it, it's the only paper left on the face of the earth, still do not use Copic sketchbooks. They are awful. The paper is trash. It is going to be $16 you'll never get back. It's awful. Do not use Copic paper. Do not use Copic sketchbook paper. It is awful. Even though it's made for the markers, it sucks. Don't buy it. I'm actually pleasantly surprised by the quality of this paper. So this is the sketch. It's kind of hard because of the lighting. It's hard to, you can only see at an angle, but there's absolutely no blotchiness. The only problem I had with this paper was that I put the inks down, and I don't know if it would have changed it if I would have waited longer before putting the, you know, the Copic ink down, you know, the difference between the marker and then the actual like black. So that's why I know I have to kind of clarify between inks. But I put too much, or I put it down when I guess it was still wet, which when it's pins it dries instantly. So I've never had this problem before on the other type of paper, but I only had it before here, so you can see there's a little smudge under her eye and on her chest, and so it didn't blend very well, which this is just a regular sketch. It's not an illustration. If it was an illustration, I would have to start completely from scratch. I would have also looked up actual reference for the costume instead of making it up from my head. The only thing I really looked up was just kind of the basic pose. But so this is the sketch. You can see the size of it. So I believe this is, what size is this paper? 9 inches, 9 by 12, and so this is white. It's cotton paper, and I mean, I didn't buy it. This was a present that was sent to my house, but I love the quality of it. So there's absolutely no blotchiness. So if I were to scan this over into Photoshop to, you know, get it edited and, you know, fix a couple of the layers and stuff, as far as like when you scan it, you do have to tweak a little bit, but when you get it, so that way it can be shown nicely on an online platform. That's the only problem when you have something that's traditional, and, you know, we are a very internet-based society. So to get this onto the internet, I would have to go and use a professional scanner and get this on, and then scan it onto a flash drive, bring it into Photoshop, adjust a little bit, and also, like I said, you know, that's why I do the circle instead of a square, because even if you scan it, it's going to be slightly off, and you'll have to black out the square and put something else in, whereas when it's a circle, it's very easy to fix the what is the technical term? I just say perspective because that's what I would use, but I'm trying to think of a more commonly used term. But I hope that makes sense. Anyways, the reason why I draw Femorcs is actually they are my favorite thing to draw, and I could draw orcs all day, every day. I know that's very random and I guess kind of weird, but I'm a pretty random, weird person. But that is, aside from going to the zoo and drawing animals, that is my favorite thing to draw. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said in the beginning, it would really help me out if you gave this this video a thumbs up, or if you shared it or left a comment, because YouTube absolutely hates it when I do art videos, but the reaction that I get to them is always, you know, it blows my mind how positive it is, and it's very humbling, and you know, it makes me want to do these more often, but it's very hard on this YouTube platform. For some reason YouTube hates it. So please, if you find it in your heart, please give it a thumbs up and share this video. And guys, I actually love hearing what you guys think of my artwork, so please, I look forward to reading the comments on this video. And until next time, everyone, have a great rest of your day, and may the force be with you, because we are really, really, really going to need it. Bye, everyone.